Hey everybody, it's Snobz. I'm Keith.
And I'm Jason.
And today we have a very interesting box of half dollars. As you can see on the front and on the side here, this got dropped. It's how it showed up to my bank after I ordered it. So let's open it up. It's already been opened because they had to, I guess, pick up the debris that ensued afterwards.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting.
So we got one blasted open.
Oh, yeah.
But obviously it's all circulated. Got another one that's been blasted open here.
Those are the lucky rolls.
Yeah, there you go. That's where we'll get the silver waterfall from.
Yeah. Perfect. All right, yep, gotta check it out, see what happens. Good old-fashioned half-dollar hunt here. I'm sure you've never seen this before on YouTube. We'll see what happens with this one. Hey everybody, and welcome back. Let's check out some of our stuff here. We got a 1973 Denver. Pretty okay condition, not too shabby. I'd say maybe we're looking at AU, but right here in his hair we've got a little bit of what looks like a tiny bit of lamination. Might be struck through, but it kind of looks more like lamination to me. It's got some pretty sharp edges right here. Almost looks like there's a little bit of separation right here. There's kind of a crack right there, or separation, so I would say that's probably lamination. Not too terrible of a reverse. Shield's a little beat up, so's the eagle, but I mean, most of the half dollars that I think everybody finds, there's going to be some sort of contact marks on that shield if it's found in circulation. That seems to be one of the first places that gets hit on these half dollars. Alright. And we've got ourselves 1998 Denver. Pretty decent shape. Not bad. A few contact marks on his cheek, as per the usual. Okay, but on the reverse, we have a whole lot of struck through grease. I mean, that's a ton. We're missing almost all of the L, this L, and the A. Quite a bit of detail in the arrows and his claw. I mean, just, there's a ton of grease there. And again, that's just where some grease was still left on the die after it was polished, creating a little bit of a space in between the die and the planchet when it was struck. So it leaves out some detail. Looks like there might be a little bit of grease up there too. Not too bad though. I mean, overall it's not a very good strike to begin with. Obviously an older die, so that's probably why they were polishing it. I mean, they would use these things until they broke, basically. But quite a bit of struck through grease, so that's a keeper. (1996) Philadelphia. Nasty die crack, as we find quite a bit. But it's also got quite a bit of struck through grease here, below his chin, in front of his mouth. So that's why I showed you that one. I mean, we still find quite a few of the Philadelphias that have the die cracks right there in that spot, but I don't show them to you because they're not that interesting. But this one, I mean, he's even got, looks like, I mean, he has some damage on his cheek, but it also looks like he might have a little bit of struck through there, above his nose, in front of his eyes there. So yeah, keeper. The reverse. Not bad. Decent amount of wear on the shield. A little bit of struck through right there. So we've got some struck through on the reverse and the obverse. So that one's definitely cool. And going in the error pile. '97 Philadelphia with, believe it or not, no die crack. That seems to be more rare for us to find than ones with the die crack. Nasty contact mark on the bottom of his cheek there. But it's kind of hard to see, but another one struck through grease. This whole area right here is missing a lot of detail in the field. Right in front of his mouth, and then a whole bunch behind his head. I'm trying to see if I can get the light to catch it just right, but it's kind of hard to do. You can kind of see it here, all the way up through here. Down here between the bottom of the bust and we trust. Terrible strike on the reverse, lots and lots of nasty metal flow. So again, probably why it was polished to begin with, just to get as much out of it as possible. You can see some more struck through here on the reverse to the left of the eagle's right wing, our left. All of this right here looks to be at least slightly struck through grease, quite a bit in here. Missing some detail down here between the tail feather and his right claw. And a little bit more struck through here. But it's kind of hard to tell because the metal flow is so terrible because the die is so worn. It's a lot harder to see it on the reverse than it is on the obverse. But it's going in the error pile. And we got a 1972 Denver. Pretty worn. Not terrible, but I mean, we find hundreds of these. Literally, hundreds. Maybe a little bit of strike doubling right there inside of his ear. Nothing significant. But, got a little bit of struck through grease up here between the S and the O. Then there is a place here where it was struck through debris right in the middle of the O and dollar, a little bit down here below the D, a little bit right here between the L's and the star, and a little bit right here between the stars, between the L and the A. So this one's kind of cool because it's definitely struck through grease in the very top, but this looks like it was struck through some kind of debris, or maybe it was just a huge buildup of grease. Perhaps, not sure. But it's not damage, and it's mint caused, so we're going to hold on to that sucker. $2,000 Philadelphia with no die crack. Well, maybe a tiny little bit of a die crack right there. Well, we're not going to call it a die crack. I mean, that might be the beginning of one, but whatever. But some more struck through grease right here in front of his forehead. And behind his head. If I can get the light to catch it. There we go. Yeah, you can see it pretty good there. Back of his head, back of his neck, going down towards the bottom of the bust. And there's some struck through grease errors that I'm actually not showing you that aren't that dramatic that we kept. There's just, for some reason, it's just one of those things where it seems like certain boxes you'll find a whole bunch of die cracks, certain boxes you'll find a whole bunch of them that are struck through grease. Very rarely, of course, you get those epic boxes where you get a whole bunch of silver. It does happen, but not often enough. I think we're just about due. It's been, probably close to a year. A little bit of struck through grease there between the arrows and the wing of the eagle. So, She's a keeper. And then we have a decent looking 1971 Denver. Not bad. But, check this out. Giant cud on the rim. That is where an actual chunk of the die has cracked off, leaving that more or less unstruck. And that is a good sized cud, which is really, really awesome. Because it's something that's so noticeable, especially on a bigger coin, that typically people pull them out, you know, as collectors, or even if you're not a collector, you know that that's obviously not right, so people hold on to it. A lot of times the mint will notice them if they're big enough, and if the mint notices things like this, they are destroyed. So that is a cool find. Opposite side where it's at is completely normal. So only the hammer die was affected. Anvil die, which would be the reverse die, is okay. I mean, heavily worn, but not damaged. And then we have this guy right here. Terrible looking 2000 to Philadelphia. Another casino coin. And again, back in the day when casinos, their slot machines used to use actual coinage, they would clink around in there inside slot machines, and excuse me, you know, you do like a payout or something like that, and all that is just mass amounts of bag marks. So that's why we call them casino coins, because this thing definitely spent some time in a slot machine. I mean, it is just hammered. Hammered, hammered, hammered. Same thing with the reverse. Hands down, definitely a classic example of a casino coin. Think of all the jackpots this sucker was probably a part of. Or maybe it was never part of a jackpot. Nothing extraordinary, right? But check this out. So this is the up and down orientation, right? I'll give you We Trust as an example. Okay, so that's the proper orientation. Now, I take this coin, flip it, and check that out. So we found another rotated coin. This is where the die came loose inside of its mount and rotated as it was striking coins. And if I'm not mistaken, this one, let me take a look here real quick. This one's pretty much a 45-degree rotation. Very noticeable. And a lot of times when you find these half dollars like this where they're rotated, the first thing that me and Keith anyways assume is that it's going to be a magic coin, where they've actually taken usually the reverse and they'll make a really fine cut around it, and then they'll actually take out part of the middle of it, and then that way it becomes, it's hollow, it's a magic coin. You can hide things in there, you can hide, a lot of times they'll put the reverse of a different coin on there so it looks like it disappeared. But this one has absolutely no cuts whatsoever. Obverse or reverse. And it weighs what it's supposed to. That right there, guys, is the #1 way you can tell if it's a magic coin. Because if it is a magic coin, it's going to either weigh light or heavy. If it weighs light, there's obviously nothing in it. If it weighs heavy, then it had the reverse of a different coin affixed to it, so that it looks like, you know, if they flip it over, it looks like it becomes 2 coins, or 2 coins become 1 when they actually use it in the magic trick. Or it has something in the middle of it hidden, like there could be a micro SD card hidden inside, or, you know, whatever. But this thing weighs the proper weight, so this is definitely an actual rotated die. Which again, on a Kennedy half dollar, super cool. I mean, you can look through a million coins and never find one that's rotated like that. And then finally, the grand finale, one lone piece of silver. 1968 Denver. She ain't pretty. Been kissed by the crimper. Unfortunately. So as far as numismatic value, she's pretty much destroyed. Once you get crimper damage on a coin, it's pretty much done. It's going to be considered damage for the rest of its life. Period. There's no way that you can fix it. A damaged coin is a damaged coin, and this one's quite damaged. But it's silver, so we're gonna keep her. Nothing fancy, not a great strike. Not a bad strike, but, you know, not a great strike. So, there you have it, guys. That's our first $half box hunt in quite a while, actually, but there's going to be some more coming up. We should be able to get some more $half here pretty regularly. We've got another giant customer roll hunt coming up, but until I get that sucker out, guys, God bless, love you all, and we will see you soon.